Okay, back to the motor here. So get the lifters all cleaned up here. So you want to make sure these all roll real nice. No dragging, no weird feeling to them. And the Toco roller, Brasilia roller. I don't know if you can read it, but it says Toco there, and then over here it's got Brasilia over in here. Those are the best ones. So anyway, you want to make sure just there's no grit on them so they roll nice and smooth. If they don't roll smooth, they're bad. Even if they're new, they're bad. So these are the hydraulic lifters here. So I took apart, cleaned up. So these go together. And the way you release the pressure on them, because they suck air in here on the backside. Yeah, that one, there it goes. There's a check valve. You hit it with a pin here and it blows it out and it holds it down like that. Put it down, you can see it better. So, getting to starting the bore here. There it goes. You see, just push down on it, hit the valve, and it goes right down and stays down. So yeah, that's how they work. That one wasn't a real good one. This one's got a lot more pressure holding to it. Works the same way. Alright. So I gotta get all this stuff on there, get it assembled. Gotta put the fitting up here in the top of the case for our line right here. So this goes in there like this. So just gotta screw it into the hole right there. I'm assuming that'll clear the lifter block fine once it's in. I think I can screw it in after I get the blocks in, so get it done now. Lube on there. Sealer. So this is only for your 63 to 65 panheads, the only ones that use this stuff. So that's getting tight right there, but not real tight. But I don't think there's another turn in here I can turn it. Kind of loose right there, but there's tension on it, so we'll leave it there. So anyway, that screws right in there like that. Tighten it all up, and it feeds the heads up through here, these two fittings. So that's how that works. Pretty straightforward. Okay. Now we work on our lifters. Some gaskets. So we got a new gasket set here. These are those fancy James Top pan cover seals. This is just a top end set here, so we need the lifter block gaskets out of here. Sharp knife. Won't even cut plastic. Stupid ass knife. Nobody makes a good knife. Alright, let's see what they're going to give us here in gaskets. Is this a motor set? Ah, it is a motor set. Well, I don't need a motor set. I already did the motor. This was in the wrong shelf. That is not what I needed. Oh well. We'll grab a different box now. No biggie. We got more. We'll be back in about 30 seconds. Yeah, how about that? Top end set. mixed up the stuff. See the tears quick on the cuts. Different packaging. Yeah, there's a top end set. So you get lots of junk pan gaskets, ain't worth a crap for anything. They only give you 2 felts, and you need probably 5 or you need 4 or 6 of them. This has the good fire ring head gaskets, and there's base gaskets mixed in there. Yep. So this has the new non-metal fancy dancy gaskets. They quit making the real good ones, so now they got the crappy looking ones. I like how they stick them all together. I'm sure that causes no damage, right? These aren't even the right gaskets because we need them for a shovel head, not a panhead. Anyway, this is what they give you. They used to be metal, now they're a format style material with some glazy ass silicone on them. Not nearly as good. Alright, I'm not even sure if these are going to work because these are made for the pan. If I put on upside down, it might work. Yep, that should be alright. Yep. Should be okay. See, we're not using the internal oiler, so that's just kind of accessory item there. That hole is just like a shovel there, it covers it up. So, it'll work. Unless you custom buy 2 gasket sets to get what you need, you use what you got. Yeah, I guess I can leave those on there for now, they don't matter. They don't need no sealer, so it doesn't make any difference. Alright, we ain't got too many more gaskets left. They don't even give you lifter block gaskets anymore. It's getting pretty cheap. That's what I needed. So let's go get some more of those. Now these are the good pan cover gaskets here. So these are thick, probably aluminum on the inside, probably an 1/8 inch thick. Then they got rubber coated over the whole thing, relatively thick rubber too, not just a flash coat. So that gives you a good seal on your pan covers. Whereas the paper ones, you got thick ones and thin ones to choose from. So you got real thin ones and you got thicker ones. Both of these tend to leak and blow out. These don't leak nearly as much and they don't blow out. The other plus is they jack the pan cover up high enough that the valve springs don't hit when you put high lift cams in them. So they actually make it real easy to put a motor together. So I like them. I've only had a couple of these that ever leaked, whereas the other ones I've had lots of them leak. We'll definitely be putting those on there, and we're not going to be using these. Alright. Did not get the lifter block gaskets I needed, so I got to get some lifter block gaskets. So I'll be back. Alright, back with the correct gaskets that we really needed. Lifter block gaskets. Front and rear. I don't know why they quit giving you with a top set. They used to give them with you. Oh well, the way it goes. Alright, so these we need to work on. Okay, your lifter blocks, you gotta make sure these all fit in there correctly. Nice and loose. No binding. They go up and down like they're supposed to. a little bit of clearance, not too bad. If you can see how much movement there is, it's not much. So they're nice and free, they move back and forth. Okay, now on the shovel heads and panhead lifters, it matters on orientation. On a hydraulic motor, on the solids, it doesn't matter. So the oil holes go toward the center of the block. So see how they're like that? They get the cutout, that goes in the center. That's how these things lubricate. So that's how they're supposed to be, like that. So if you do them that way, they lubricate theoretically better. The problem is the way the oil holes are made, I don't see why it makes a bit of difference, because you pretty much have this groove here all the time, and it's there. And if you look at how they're supposed to, the holes are made, you have one hole here that feeds it. It goes to the side of the lifter block down inside down there, and that's one opens up whenever it lines up with this hole here, with this. Now if you put this right there, you get full-time oil to that part of the lifter. And then this one over here, it only gets oil after it goes around this ring here, and the hole goes through the other side into this side. So if you look at how the hole is in there, it drills all the way through. Now this one here, they got a hole that goes through everything. So they got one hole, goes right through the whole damn system. So I guess that's how they drill them. So this one here, to get full-time oil all the way up and down the movement, you would put that toward the inside, but the problem is that the hole for the next one only lines up part-time, pretty much when the valve's closed. It's the only time you get oil. So it doesn't really matter how the hell you put these things in there. But they tell you they go toward the inside like this. That's how I've always done it. And they drill all the way through this one too. So, but like I said, if you want to turn this one around like that, at least that'd give you full oil flow to this one. Of course, they wouldn't get any oil until it lined up with the hole on that side, so it doesn't really matter. One way or the other, it doesn't go across until you're there. So the time it takes you to go from here around that hole, there ain't no time. It's pressurized all the time. So whatever. I think it's just one excuse why their lifters don't work. We already know they don't work. The fucking stupid Harley lifters are junk. So anyway, do whatever you want to do. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is get the gaskets lubricated. So I do the block first. That way it has time to start to dry. Like that. Not too concerned about being messy with it. Doesn't matter if it gets on the inside of the right there. Go ahead and do the gaskets. Then we get the case. All right. Now this is the older gasket. They're thicker all the way around. Here's a newer one. See how they make them a lot thinner now. So I don't know why they're saving money, but can't make that big of a difference on the amount of gasket material they got left over. Okay, this one here lines up with the rear. Ooh, they even put an R on it. Ooh, that's cheating when you do that. And the gasket cinch lines up. That's good. So here's your front one. See, I know what they look like just by looking at them, so I don't need the R and F on there. So it goes on there like that. And see, they make it real thin right here, and all it does is just leave open block to rust. They could just make that gasket thicker, and there's no reason not to be there. And I'm sure they have a theory about that. Alright, so now I gotta go ahead and lubricate our rollers here. So what I do is I take oil and I work them in. Just put a drop of oil on there like that. Kind of let it work its way into the rollers. These are dry right now because I cleaned them. So just get a little bit on there like that. We just do it 3 more times. Now, if these are dry on startup, it doesn't. The rollers in there probably won't be very happy with you. And more likely, they won't live a very long time if you run them dry. Kind of scars up the metal a little bit when there's no lubricant on stuff. Now you can soak these in some more oil if you want to. However you want to do it. I do it this way using my assembly lube, so whatever gets in there does a good job. It also gives you a high pressure lube on the roller because the whole roller is getting lubed, not just the rollers on the inside, the outside roller is getting lubed. Okay, there's that. So now I got 3 fingers that are kind of dirty. Now you take the block. I gotta wipe this finger off because I need to use it. See, these 2 I cannot use, but I have to get one to hold it. Okay, I put some oil in there, and I put my finger in there and kind of roll it around. Gotta be very careful about twisting it too hard, because it'll cut the hell out of the side of your finger if you're not careful. And you can feel how the oil comes up the inside, up in there. Lubricates the whole thing. So you put a little bit of oil in there, work yourself in. Well, my finger's starting to get too fat to do it this way. I have to switch to a different finger. The older I get, the more my fingers get bigger and my hands get bigger. Probably get flatter too from all the years of beating on them. Yeah, it was a little bit too much twisting right there. I felt it. You could probably use some kind of a brush to do this too if you wanted. But that'll just be something that's going to have a lot of dirt potential to be in there, and I'd rather not have that possibility of dirt inside the motor. So the finger works good because I can just clean it when I'm done. Okay, now I got now I got that finger and these 2 fingers full of crap. So now you take this, put a lube on these, slip them in the block, rotate them, move them around a little bit, make sure the oil works its way in, and then orientate them correctly. Don't be bashful about getting them wet. Make sure they still slide down like they're supposed to. So you can tell I can do everything with my fingers. So you can splash around a bucket full of oil. Do it real quick, but when you're doing it like this, you can feel high spots, nicks, any kind of problems. You have the opportunity to catch problems when you do stuff like this. If you do it quick and fast, it's not always the best, but it's quick. Okay, now I gotta clean my hands off there completely. Towel right here. Be back in a second. Cleaning fluid on there, knocks the oil off. The assembly lube doesn't like to leave, he likes to stay and stick to everything. See, I don't have my lifter blocks are all full of oil, my oil bottle's not full of oil. Only 3 fingers were full of oil. Okay, now you pick these up. Now if you're really quick, you can just flip them over and stuff them on the case. Just like that. Line the holes up by eyeball. Oh, we got an oil mess down here. So you can see how the tripod doesn't want to do very far. So you can see how they sit down on top of the camera right in there. That's how they're supposed to be. So if you're not very quick, the lifters will fall out and not go in where they're supposed to. So you have to be relatively quick to put them in. I didn't pre-check to make sure these fit either, because sometimes they don't. Aftermarket stuff, you definitely got to check it before you put it in there. Nothing worse than getting that far into it and it doesn't work. Okay, now we got those in. Here's our new tappet screws. Whoop, I already cut this up. I got this blown up, don't I? Alright, so these are our new screws. Now I usually put them in with no washers. I don't particularly like the lock washer things they got. So, tapered screw, here's a tapered washer, star washer. It's supposed to make them stay in there better, I guess. Whatever. It limits how much contact you got when you put a washer on. When you go in flat, you got full contact. So I like putting them in with full contact. So however you want to do it, you can do it. There's more than one way of doing stuff. Okay, this here has got a hex head on the top. The earlier ones had a straight slot, and Phillips said it was available in the early 50s. So they're all interchangeable because this part down's the same. So the later bike takes the hex, that's what we're using. Okay, I use a deep well socket and it goes on there like that. Quarter drive works really good on these things. Like an extension, gives me room to work. Appear to be going in pretty good. It's like they're supposed to. Now what's nice about these old tapered screws is they're self-aligning. So they line up correctly every time. The disadvantage is that the side of the lifter block is real thin, so they split and crack. Now they could have corrected that problem by just making them thicker, but they just did it by changing the hardware. So, there you go. You had something that worked really nice, and they changed it to something that didn't work quite as good. This way here, they're lined up every time. The other way, they can move around a little bit. The lifters aren't necessarily always square to the cam like they're supposed to be. So just because it's newer doesn't mean it's always better. bring them down until they touch. I'm not torquing them all the way yet. Now if you have to beat the lifter block into the hole, that's pretty tight. Usually that means you have a diameter problem or something. Or something warped or bent or screwed up, something bad. So when that happens and you torque the blocks down, sometimes the bores flex and it locks the lifters up. If that happens, you should hone the blocks to fit. First you need to go in there and find out what the problem is, but if you don't see anything wrong, can't fix it, you're going to have to loosen the block up so they're not tight. Okay, now I put a little torque to them. Of course you want to know what the torque is, it's called tight. Okay, now you torque them all the way now. Here. So whatever I get with half a ratchet, I'm holding it like that. That's how much torque you use. So I'm sure I could probably get 15 foot-pounds out of that. I've been known to break screws off every now and then, especially those modern 12-point ones. Those things are crap. These old ones, they don't break very often. Alright, those are in. Rotate, see if the motor goes up and down, lifters. They go up and down. Now you want to make sure, it starts catching there, doesn't it? Okay, you want to make sure the lifters fall down automatically by themselves. They're not being pushed down, they're falling down. So that's what you want to see. Everything's working nice and smoothly like it should. So that's nice and important. Okay, so now you saw we had a little bit of oil on top of the lifter block to collect dirt. So usually I come by and throw the seals in there at this point. Except we're not using these seals. I think we're going to new style pushrod covers. So can't put those in right now. I have to go see what covers we're going to use. I think we're switching over to O-ring covers. That'd be shovel head parts. But, so I'll leave those open right now. Okay, so now we get to work on either on distributor or work on the cylinders. So this is our distributor right here. You gotta look in here to see what the points look like. They look like they are used. They don't look like they're brand new at all, so roll the way down. This is an automatic advance. This is the early automatic advance. It's got a solid hole down here. So you got two bolts that hold it to the case here. In '67 they went to like a Y clamp that goes down and it rotated wherever you want to put it. This only goes in two positions, this one or that one. That's it, the only choice you get. So, and you have the slot up here to move it side to side a little bit. So you have to be within that range. These have different springs and different weights in them than the later distributor, so they're totally different. Even though they fit in the same application, they're totally different. So this needs to be all taken apart, cleaned up, make sure it looks good and lubricated, and then drop it in the hole. Boom, time it. So that's going to take a little bit of work. I'll probably do that tomorrow. So today we're going to work on the cylinders. Okay, so I got that part done. Nope, not quite. I forgot some stuff. I forgot to put the lifters in there. Okay, now these here I'm going to go ahead and lube them up a little bit. Now you can either use some thick ass assembly lube, which means these shouldn't collapse very much, or you can use the like a light machine oil or an ATF or something like that. So, you know, whichever way you want to do it, they kind of all work. So it's just a matter of if you put too much oil in there, it's going to squirt out when you put the plunger on the back to release the tension. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little heavier lube on it. I'll just use this for now. This is handy. We're going to use it. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this a couple times like this. Kind of work it in. I found a sweet spot where you just drop down. That one's lubed. Drop in the hole. Of course it didn't drop in the hole, it's stuck. Wonderful. See, I didn't check new parts to see if they work. Yep, That's what happens if you don't check everything before you do the final assembly. These things just bleed right down. So this one works. That one don't go in either. 2 for 2. Yeah, I didn't have the foil on that one. Well, and I get to decide what I'm going to do. I can beat them in the hole and hope for the best. Or I can go find some other lifters. Okay, that one fit in. We got one made right. Considering 3 of those lifters are brand new, I just bought last week, and the other one I've had on my shelf for about 3 or 4 years. I think they made a manufacturing change. Now this one here is probably going to be tight. Yeah, what a shocker. It's tight. This one here is loose. Alright, so now we get to decide what we're going to do about this here. If you beat in the hole, 2 things are going to happen. It's going to expand the lifter a little bit, and it's going to collapse the hydraulic unit. No, that's not necessarily a bad thing on either part. But, something has to be done, that's for damn sure. I don't know how much too tight it is. There's no way of turning these down, so you can grind the hell out of them, but that's not very accurate. Then it'll just float around inside the lifter block. That's almost as bad as being too tight. Okay, get my brand new lifter, my calipers here. We're going to measure them. So I'm getting 15.5 for that measurement. Okay, the lifter's all the way up. Yeah, typical crank won't stay there though. Too many things fighting me. There. The crank should stay more where I want it to be. And I can measure it like a normal person. Lifter measures 17.5 from that angle. 16.5 there. I barely even moved it. Now I'm going 90 degrees to it. 16, 15.5. As I go in deeper, it's 14.5, 15. Probably blinding a little bit. Yeah, about 14.5. So they're out around. So theoretically, if they're out around, you beat them in and make them round. They should fit. Let's pull another one out and measure it. Same 15.5 there. That one's 15. Drop down to half. $16. 15.5 to 16. So it looks like we're fighting about a 1 thou of out around this. So that means it should tap in, not be a problem. Famous last words, right? It's definitely the way the block's made, because that one doesn't go in the hole. Put that one right there. Okay, so now we got to figure out how we're going to tap these in there. Probably a deep well socket of some type will do it. Yep, here's my favorite tool. Japan deep well crappy sockets. I use them for everything. Except for sockets. I beat on them, I tear them up. They work good for all kinds of things, except for what you're supposed to use them for. Okay. So we're going to take this, we're going to lightly tap on it and see what happens. I want to make sure the cam is on the base circle, so the lifter's all the way down. That does the least amount of damage to the camshaft. Okay, all the way down. The lifter still does what it's supposed to, so that's good. Okay, so we didn't hurt anything by doing that. Take these around. Do the same thing. So it's a little tighter. Here it hit the bottom. In case you want to know what this is, it's a 12.7/16. Slightly round and screwed up though. Disadvantage is this plunger's a little tight now. Right there it works though. You get in a wear spot, it works. That one's a little tighter and I like it though. Yeah, that one might be a problem. It gets tight. The last eighth of an inch it drops in, or 150 down, it's going to get tight in the block. Yeah, comes back up though, so it's definitely a zero fit. Let's put it that way. So it's, see, it comes back up pretty freely. It gets tight right there. There's a tight spot. And you come up all the way. So you got that much free, then it gets tight. You press through it, and then it gets loose again. So it's like a little bit of a bill mouth. So I think it'll be all right. I don't like it, but it is what it is. Okay, let's try this one. Now this one does not want to fit over the plunger. So that does not fit around the spring on this particular unit. So we'll just beat this without it. And pretty easily. We have the same problem here though, it gets tight on the plunger now. Ooh. This one's not going to fly though. Yeah, that ain't going to work. There we go, right there's a spot that it works. It's still tight though. Nope. Alright. Yeah, it binds up. Definitely not going to work. So this plunger is too big in diameter. And that one ain't going to work. You can mix these in case you didn't know. They are fitted. Yep, that don't fit in that one either. That's a real small one. Okay, so we're going to have to do, we're going to go find a smaller one of these. Yeah. Or you got to try to get that out of there. Which is probably going to be very interesting to do. Not likely it's going to come out very easily, considering how we just beat the damn thing in the hole. So the best option is go find the plunger that's not quite as tight. So let me go find all my plungers and I'll be back. Alright, we're back. Okay, I found one plunger that works. Goes in there pretty easily. Didn't quite stay in there real good, but it's in there. So this was, depending on where you measured it, roughly between 2 to 3/10 smaller in size, which is a quarter of a thou. And this is the one that came out of it. It came out of this used lifter, and even though this is bigger, it was going right in. There, fits right in there. See? Plunger. Get the releasing tool. So, even though this is quite a bit bigger of a lifter, it fits right in. So, obviously, it's within tolerance if it's that big. So, I'm okay with it. So we got 3 that are working decently, and this one here is still a little snug. And both of these are out around now because they're not consistent. And this one's probably out around too, but it's staying. It's not binding, so oh well. So this is the only one that we didn't screw with because it fell in the block. It went in the lifter because it wasn't a screwed up lifter. So there you go. So I used to have a whole bag of these plungers floating around, but I couldn't find them, so I'm just robbing some used lifters I had laying around. So you always keep these things. They either work or they don't. Doesn't matter if they're new, used, rusty, crappy looking. Those seem to work the best. They're nice and new looking. They usually work the worst, actually. Yeah, the more crusty they are, the better they work usually. I mean, they've been around a long time. The new ones look like new because they keep getting taken out because they're no damn good. And the aftermarket new ones don't work half the time anyway, so there you go. Alright, so we got those all in there now. We're going to do the distributor later. So now that I get over this side here, I left out a couple things. One is we got the timing hole plug that should be left in the hole so no dirt gets in there. I leave them loose so I know they're loose. I didn't put the drain plug in the bottom of the case down here, so we probably should put that in. I usually like using the capillary Loctite on that to help seal it. It kind of wicks in. tighten it up pretty good. I take a little bit of that dab of Loctite. I just use the capillary stuff and I put a little bit right on top. Let it float all the way around it. Suck up the excess. And that should seal it pretty good without any problems. You can't really get to these things because the frame's right next to it. So if you ever do get them out, you usually can't get them back in. Because it tears up the last last thread and a half to get them in and out. So you pretty much destroy it getting them out. So don't take them out. Okay, then we got the speedometer cable clip, which is supposed to be right here. So I'll go ahead and put that in right now. I got better access to it. As expected. Okay, get in there now. Got a few extra threads over here, so I'll move it over a little bit. Actually, I think this uses this has a linker carburetor on it, so this is going to be using a bracket over here. Forget about all these things you're going to be using. So probably won't be able to use a washer. That's probably won't be use a washer on either one of these two sides, but we'll see. I'm going to leave the washers in there for now, but probably wind up having to take them out to make room for the carburetor support bracket that goes over there. I'll make this side here flush. And that might leave enough room on this side here for a support bracket. It looks like it will just be enough room. Yeah, maybe. Still tight. Alright, pretty tight. So the bracket's on there now. Just like it's supposed to be. So we'll probably be back coming off of this again, I bet. Okay, so all that looks good. All the last things got fixed. So now all I gotta do is work on the top end. So let me get all the parts here and we'll come back for that.